Hey guys, it's Marcel here with another interview, and we have the chance to talk to LCS caster and expert of the European region, Deficio. How are you doing? Did the finals were expected?
I mean, this was my second prediction only I got right in putting a G2 to win. Sadly, it wasn't public, so it doesn't really mean anything. I can just say it here. I could be lying to you. But I think actually it was a super awesome final because it showed that the current meta in Europe, even take some LCK games here and there, it doesn't have to be 50 minutes of nothing and then one big team fight into an ace and then Nexus is down. So I think G2 showed a new style, which was very healthy for the final and for Europe. And I'm happy to see Origin trying to dance with them, and try and match what they were doing.
So the overall strength of the region itself, did you expect the whole playoffs to go that way? I mean, Vitality and H2k looked like a lot better than they were when coming into the playoffs. What's your take on those two teams? Were they choking? Were they just having a bad read on the meta, maybe?
I think for Vitality, 100% a very bad read on the meta. They were focusing so much on Azir coming into it, but not really understanding how to play with it on stage, play around double teleport, which very quickly became the big thing. Obviously, Lissandra was a huge pick in playoffs. So I think Vitality was a bad read on the meta, but also hard for them when they have carry top laner in a tank meta to really utilize Cabo Shot properly. So the meta hurt them, and then reading it wrong hurt them even more. So they dropped out quickly, which was honestly deserved. H2k, I think H2k is a team who struggles in this best of series because I feel like mentally, as a team, they have some of the wrong players right now. So when they lose one game or maybe get surprised about something they've been practicing for 2 weeks, it seems to go really wrong for the team. Also, I feel like in the semi-final, didn't have the correct picks 100%. Like the LeBlanc from Rio was something I didn't like. Not because I think the pick is weak, but because I think the way H2k likes to play didn't match it at all. Like you have to be aggressive with it. You can't go full late game. And yeah, it was strange. I think Prolly is very disappointed in himself and in the team. And I think H2k not making the final was probably the biggest surprise for me when it comes to this playoffs. Even with G2 winning, I actually feel like H2k not making the final was a bigger surprise.
Okay, so overall, we have a few teams locked in for MSI, and TSM is playing right now against CLG. So where do you think Europe is going to stack up internationally? MSI, everyone wants to know, is Europe maybe the second strongest region? Are we maybe underestimating the Taiwanese region, or what's your take?
I think LMS is strong if you look at the top teams. I think the bottom teams are weaker than normal LCS teams. But Flash Wolves and HQ are both very good teams, especially Flash Wolves after winning a 3-0 today. So I expect a lot from them, and that's kind of the problem with MSI if it comes to judging the region's strength, because it's only one team going. Normally you want to judge 3-4 teams, all of them playing each other, and then you get an overall ranking of regions. Now it's one team. I do think we send probably the best option, looking at the whole playoffs, also because I think G2 will be extremely hungry. They will go in, practice enough, more than probably all the European teams would have done, have players like Perks and Trick who really want to show themselves now again at MSI against some bigger teams even. Obviously, Korea will be heavy favorites, either SKT or Rox Tigers for sure, but I think right now, I mean, I would look at G2, I would look at Flash Wolves, and I would look at whichever Korean team is going as the 3 best teams, but you can't keep EDG down either, because I think they're going to win the final in China, and they have been getting better and better. I just don't trust in China right now. I think the games are a mess, so I'm going to say they're LMS, EU, and Korea right now.
Okay, and what's the meta like? Is it across all regions pretty much the same picks right now? Because all these international tournaments, we have different styles maybe. I mean, China right now is a bit of a, I feel a wild card, not in terms of a region, but in terms of meta. And then Korea and Europe have very similar styles, right? And then in NA, mage supports were a big thing for whatever reason, but what's your take on the meta coming into this MSI tournament?
I do agree with you when it comes to Europe and LCK sharing a lot of picks. Different series will then kind of give or take a few. Korea has a bit more focus on Trundle support, which the European supports I think is a fine pick, but not as strong because they want more lane presence coming in, and Trundle doesn't really offer a whole lot there. And also in teamfights, if his team is behind, Trundle in itself doesn't do much. But he's great if you're ahead. Fantastic snowball pick, shutting down enemy tank, obviously. But that's a small difference in support pool. NA obviously is doing their own thing with these Karma, Janna, Soraka things, mainly Immortals, I guess with Soraka. And they seem to just value 2v2 laning really, really highly. Also, Caitlyn being played a lot over there. Even some Jhin, which is completely gone in Europe, and LCK we barely see it. If we have seen it even recently, so I think NA is a little bit different in their own meta right now. I think Korea, Europe, same. Flash Wolves honestly plays a lot like G2 does and like Rocks Tigers. Very aggressive early on. Mabel, of course, is still a fantastic player, and they have one of my favorite junglers in Kaza. So I'm really looking forward to like a potential Trick, Kaza, let's say Peanut jungle match going on. But yeah, I don't know. China, EDG does play like the rest of the world. It's just macro-wise, I think the Chinese teams are a little bit worse, but pick and ban, we see a lot of the same stuff.
And we see that top lane is like the most important role every time Worlds comes across and metas clash. Do you think that maybe this tournament might change and we see like a swift change on the jungle role being more important or the most important player? Because if you look at all these top teams, they all have like MVPs of their regions basically, right? All the junglers. Do you think that carry junglers right now are the biggest success to teams?
I think carry junglers and high impact mid laners. And they normally go together as well, because if you are winning mid lane, you obviously set up your carry jungler to play a lot more aggressive, invade in enemy jungle, win early skirmish, and it just gives map pressure. So I think like if the meta stays the same, top lane, yes, they are important. Like Echo, you can do a lot on. A well-played Maokai, click W on someone, good engages, is important, but it won't be about top laners. 100% junglers and mid laners, and I think we see like, red side here is always counter pick for mid laner. It's no longer counter pick for top lane like it was at Worlds with like Fiora or some of these picks. So that is a big change. I just hope we get another jungler that creeps into the mix, because it's kind of like Kindred, Graves, Nidalee every game. So like, look at the playoffs here in Europe, like, okay, is Nidalee banned? First pick Kindred, take the Graves as a response, like there you have your junglers. And then small adaptations, like maybe you put in an Elise if one of the junglers has been taken away. So I think the fact we have carry junglers in the roles, I think the fact that SKT swapped in Blank and obviously got a lot better once he got used to playing with the team, because he's a carry jungler, unlike Bingy, shows how important it is in this meta. But I still think mid laners, man. I think mid lane is so fun to watch. It means so much with counter picks. There's still control mages who can 1v5 in a team fight, and there's these assassins who can go to side lanes like Zed and LeBlanc and just carry everything. So I think mid lane together with jungle are the two most impactful ones.
So coming back to the topic of high impact junglers and really good mid laners, do you think that's the reason why in the end G2 won, because they had like the best duo? Because I mean, I was tweeting out that I think like Perks and Trick are the ones that enable the side lanes, because if you look at the roster of G2, the side lanes are probably like the weaker positions, and then you have like these two star players basically together that just enable the whole team. Do you think that's a fair statement to say that they won because of Perks and Tricks?
I think it's a very fair statement. I do want to give a shout out to Kikis as well. Actually played really well in his side lane, so yeah, I mean, hey, his Echo there were great. So when you didn't have the setup where you have such a good mid lane core in both Perks and Trick, if your side lanes are then stepping up, obviously it makes you an even stronger team in a final like this, so it helped a lot. But no, I mean, let's be fair, Trick and Perks are the two-star players, and it's why this meta is so good for G2. Like, you can play a tank top, you can play carry junglers, you can play high-impact mid laners who can go to side lanes and have kill pressure. It just fits them perfectly, and obviously Hybrid and Emperor. 2v2 lane, I don't think they are the strongest bot lane we have, but going into team fights, Emperor is absolutely fantastic on Braum, as an example. Also, his bot was great today. Honestly, pick and ban decided a lot for me. When it came to having counter picks in mid for Perks, the two scaling compositions from Origin, which didn't work at all. Surprised they went for it in game 3 after it didn't work in game 1. But it is built around Perks and Trick, obviously, every single time.
Yeah, I think with those statements we close out the interview. Thank you so much for the deep insight, and I hope you liked our little MSI preview maybe a bit. If you want to check out more interviews, we have them covered at thescoreesports.com, and see you guys next time.